We are Tailgate Talk. Welcome into the show. I'm Matt Thomas. With me, we've got Kyle Mulwiney, Trent Williams, and Kyle Schumann, who clearly stole his Phillies hat from a 12-year-old. But
Live from Granddad's office.
yeah, live from Pottsville, Pennsylvania. That's a nice grandfather clock you got in the back there too. I like it.
Yeah,
All right, go ahead. Talk about your Phillies first before we get going.
I mean,
Gonna keep dancing on my own.
Mm.
Bryce Harper.
Reese Hoskins. Everybody.
Everybody, this team's fun to watch.
Can we just agree that Bryce Harper is way underpaid to be a Philly?
Definitely. Obviously his contract is, many years, so it wasn't heavily weighted in his prime years, but still very underpaid.
Mm-hmm.
Do you give the Phillies a better chance to beat the Astros or us to beat Ohio State?
And
It has to be.
that's
It has to
last
be.
call.
It has to be Phillies to beat the Astros.
We've been heavy underdogs the first three rounds of the wild card. So
I don't know.
Yeah.
Playoffs.
Franklin keeps pulling my
Phillies,
heartstrings.
the Phillies actually have an offense, so all right. You got
That's called foreshadowing.
Yeah, you got your 2 cents in. Just enjoy it while you can. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wait. When we get our birds talking, they had the bye week this week, but they're still 6-0.
Nobody cares about them.
We'll save it.
Yeah,
Go
it's gonna be
go birds. Go birds.
When we get 10-0, we'll start talking about it.
As great as this postseason was for the Phillies. It's gonna be so fun when the Eagles lose in the first round of the playoffs, and everyone's gonna be so upset. But
Matt doesn't have any teams other than Penn State, I don't think.
yeah, I'm just here for Penn State. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. I'm dedicated.
That's why you lost your hair so quickly.
That's very good point. Very good point. But speaking of which, let's dive in a little bit to a performance that didn't make me want to pull my hair out. 45-17, Minnesota, whiteout once again shows out. Initial reactions, where we want to go with this?
I think we got that game we needed where we stepped back and we didn't look great at all times, but I think we're all pretty happy with the result. Got back on the tracks a little bit here.
I felt like at first we were tiptoeing really, really badly in the first quarter, and then floodgates opened and didn't look back. I feel like in some of these games where we start we start slow and then put things together, and then maybe take a step back. But I feel like we were just all gas, no breaks, and good part of that first half into the second half. So it was good to see for once.
I'm a little indifferent, right? I mean, I'm excited and happy, but the more I think about it, the more it's like, I think Minnesota was a good team, but then I think, okay, they didn't have their quarterback really. So I don't know. It almost felt more of like an Auburn game, which is still big for sure. The environment was awesome and everything is great, but I don't want to get too excited, I guess, going into Ohio State.
No, I heard some more takes about that, but with the whole backup quarterback situation, their starting quarterback, Minnesota doesn't do much with their throwing the ball anyway. They're a big, obviously run-heavy team, so I feel like we shut that down for the most part. And although my Mo Ibrahim under 100 rushing yard, first off, that line was pretty damn good because he finished with 102 rushing yards. It went over. That's still a pretty good line. Coco Sportsbooks to be becoming a real thing here.
Oh, even a blind squirrel finds a few nuts every once in a while.
Winnie, what I'll say to that quickly, as you could hear, I don't have much of a voice, so hurts to talk. I'll say that much. Some of us are real fans and actually yell every defensive play.
Don't let him fool you. He screamed for the Phillies.
You stopped. I was sitting right next to you. You stopped by the end of the game.
I lost my voice.
Yeah,
when it got to a blowout, okay. But anyways, what I'll say to that, Winnie, is I would agree with you, but I think the manner in which we won, right? I mean, if we struggled to beat Minnesota, I think we could take that away and say, oh, we struggled to beat a bad football team. But I think we beat them in a fashion that I could be happy with, where it's like, yeah, they're a bad football team, but we also beat a bad football team by a good margin as well.
That's fair.
Yeah. I still kind of feel like most of it is maybe fool's gold because it's kind of I just think about what I saw and I'm like, all right, well, how does that translate to next week? And it's just, I don't know. We're going to find out.
You also didn't think we'd play well at all this week. You literally showed up to the tailgate and like, who's ready to lose today? Like you picked Minnesota to cover.
Well, I was just going with the trends.
You thought we could beat Michigan. Like you've been way off. So anything that you're gonna say here is not very relevant.
Do we want to go, Coco? Do we want to do pick our plate scores right now?
That doesn't matter.
I think
pick your plate. Half of it's not even Penn State related.
Pretty sure the tallies aren't even right either. I don't think we're waiting on John God for the.
John will do the official year-end audit once everything's all squared away. So
it'll be off by like 100. Won't even have that many games. But where do we want to start with this game?
Let's start with that. Yes, we went.
Let's start with the beginning.
We went 3 and out, interception, nearly a pick six. And Sean Clifford got booed off the field.
Well, that's what you expect from your Big Ten player of the week.
Yeah, exactly. I have to say that those first 3 drives, if you had said that he had those first 3 drives and still won Big Ten offensive player of the week, I'd be like, yeah, you're joking. Like, there's no way. But
he went, what was the line I saw on Twitter yesterday? He went 19 of 26 for 277 yards and 4 touchdowns after that interception. So bounced back pretty well.
Insane. In the game, after the interception, I turned to Matt and I'm like, I have to go on the podcast and just say we were wrong. Like Clifford needs to be benched. Yeah, we have to bring Drew in. Like because like honestly, at that point, he left no one any choice. Like it felt like, and then he just turned it around and looked pretty good.
It definitely.
I told Matt like, can't wait to get on Tailgate Talk and defend Clifford and say how right we were all along.
it definitely seems like the offense especially kind of was still dealing with what they had at Michigan, you know?
Well, I mean, what happened was we decided we were going to throw the football to our tight ends. Like once we decided we were going to utilize probably the deepest, position group on the football field.
Yeah.
And the most credit to Winnie here. He met like after that game, I'm like, Winnie has to be the happiest guy ever because tight ends got used. We got Theo Johnson involved. We got
Warren.
Like all of them got involved.
Yeah. Like actually, I didn't hear Brenton Strange's name right away, and I was actually worried. Yeah. I didn't see him out there. I saw a lot of Theo, and I was like just wondering, more about it. I didn't get time to look into it more, but.
I mean, that's what the offense needs, though, because I mean, reality. Since we started Big Ten play in earnest, and teams have figured out what we want to do, like just. We don't have the personnel this year to just go up and play our game and beat anyone off the ball. Like the line just can't do it. The running backs, they're good, but they're young. So and the receivers, we've been saying it all year long. They're not dynamic enough to create space on their own. But the tight ends, there's a matchup we can potentially exploit, and it showed showed itself on Saturday night.
But see, you can go. Go, Kyle, go.
I was gonna ask a question. Like, do you guys? We never talk about during the game. Do you guys feel like our offense, like the handcuffs came off a little bit? Like
that's what I was just going to take
in that like mid-second quarter into the third quarter. I felt like we started doing a lot of different schemes, like doing more tight ends on the seam route. Warren had that touchdown pass and everything like that. I felt like at the beginning it was very Michigan-esque offense.
To me, it felt like those first 3 tries we just came out and sort of tried to do the plain Jane and get through this game and not do anything.
And then we threw the playbook out and actually
and then we threw a deep ball, which I mean, one of my things is I say like we need to throw the ball downfield more, but then we threw the
oh my God, look what happens when you have a playmaker like Parker Washington 1-on-1. Look what happens. Give him a jump ball.
But I mean, the problem, we definitely need to throw the ball downfield more, but Clifford's just not a good deep ball thrower. And I mean, some of those plays, guys were open. He had some great plays. I mean, that's what Clifford does. He shocks you in times when he's great, and he shocks you in times when he's bad.
I feel like also it can't be all Clifford because we don't have that KJ Hamler that can take the top off a secondary. I mean, we don't have any of those speed burners that can compare to KJ or like those guys too.
Yeah, that's not Parker's strength. The touchdown that he had, where it was a 25-yarder or whatever, that's his ability to go up, ball control. But trying to throw it 40 yards down the field and get him to run under or make the catch, like it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But
I mean, one of the first plays of the game that you saw, Parker's hands are just phenomenal. I mean, he caught a ball way behind him from Clifford. It was just insane. But kind of to your point though, guys, I feel like Kyle was even saying, and Matt, you even touched on it with the tight end use. It just felt like it was a different offense though that we started to see, and that's where I kind of was like thinking, like, I mean, Franklin, I feel like he's had so much control. I'm almost curious if he was just like let Yursich kind of go and do his thing. It almost seemed different in my opinion.
Well, I think it's just it's a philosophical thing. Like we want to be this year a running football team. Like I think even last year we wanted to too, and we just couldn't do it. So every game, and when we get to Ohio State, this is one of my concerns. Every game, I think we're going to come out and try to just establish that run. Like let's see what we can do, and then eventually it's just to the point where it's like, all right, well now we have to try to score points. So, and to your point, Winnie, it is a different offense. You know, I won't go and level all my stats. If you want to go read my piece on the tight ends on Basic Blues, it's there. But 6 drives when the tight ends caught a pass, 9.1 yards per play, 38 points. 7 drives when the tight ends weren't involved, 4 yards of play, and 7 points. It creates space for the receivers where they get those one-on-one matchups. You have, you know, Mitchell Tinsley making a nice one-handed grab. Parker Washington with a nice touchdown pass opens up the run game. 126 of the 175 rushing yards came on those 6 drives when the tight ends were involved. Like, because otherwise they're just taking up space on the field. If you're not going to throw the ball to them and they're not the best in run blocking as a group, like they're just average, like what are they doing on the field? So it was good to see. See if it transitions to next week, though. That's the big if with everything that we're going to talk about today, I think.
Yeah.
Well, so. I mean, we showed this use of the tight end, so you know, there's no doubt in my mind Ohio State's kind of looking to these guys now and saying, okay, this is what they did, da 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 da. So that in my mind, though, it's now what do we do against Ohio State? Like, okay, we showed the tight ends a little bit. Now, can we add another element that we haven't used yet this year?
We're just going to start Drew. That's just going to be the game plan. It was building to this moment, but
yeah. Defensively, what I wanted to say, Matt, I mean, we talk a lot about our third down efficiency on offense, but I mean, one of the keys to this game was our defense and their third down efficiency. Minnesota was 2 for 13.
One of Matt's key points.
We finally did it. We finally freaking did it.
Mm-hmm.
2 for 13. Thank the Lord in heaven.
Can we just make note that one guy that didn't show up against Michigan, but really showed up against Minnesota was Curtis Jacobs. I think he had a great game with he had like 2 tackles for losses, 14 tackles, something like that. So I think he really set up as that big those guys in defense have those impact players that we really need to show up hopefully against Ohio State, but we'll get to that. But
yeah.
And
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I just think defensively as a whole, I mean, we looked like ourselves. Now that being said, we're obviously playing a talent much lesser than, you know, the one team that exposed our defense so far has been Michigan. It's by far the most talented team we've played. So I can't say for sure that that's going to translate till next week. But this week, I mean, I felt great again with our defense out there. I felt like our corners were solid out there on islands when they needed to be. There was a couple big plays that were honestly just you couldn't really defend them. I mean, great catches, great throws, like just perfect execution. But for the most part, I think our defense really showed out again, and hopefully that they settle back in.
Those big plays that they had, like the one jump ball on the sideline, remind me of like the Auburn game where their QB had a few jump balls, and if it's a good thrown ball, is going to beat any defender anytime. So it's just one of those receiver QB made a good play. So
yeah, the one interesting note, and hopefully something we see more moving forward, is finally starting to see Curtis Jacobs and Abdul Carter on the field at the same time. They moved Jacobs over to the Sam, and then Abdul was playing the Will. So, I mean, he's just too talented to not keep him on the field. Well, both of them, actually. Like Jacobs, you can't really take off the field, and Carter, you have to try to get on the field as much as possible. So, it's good to see. But again, the caveat is Carter has been a little bit suspect in pass coverage this year, so we'll see how that translates to Saturday. Because
I think we saw that with that one crossing route coming across the field. I think that was his guy that they exposed him on that pretty bad.
And I know Franklin always says that at this point of the season, these guys aren't freshmen anymore. But like even for like a freshman linebacker, some like more like the defensive coverage schemes is you expect that at some point. Like, but again, his talent's going to make up for a lot of his deficiencies with like the playbook that. If there's like one thing, it might be something with, again, coverages or something like that. But
and of course, Franklin's going to take that stance, especially because, I mean, he's never going to let a player use that excuse, like that they're a freshman. Where I mean, as fans, it feels good that we can know like some of these mistakes they're making. Yes, they are freshmen, and just how well our freshmen have played is really exciting from a fan perspective looking ahead.
Yeah, yeah. But it's gonna be a big test this week. The one concern I have is defense really hasn't stopped the team yet that's multi-dimensional. So we'll see. We'll see how
is Ohio State multi-dimensional?
What before we get into that, real quick, what did we think about the whiteout environment for a team like Minnesota?
I mean, statistically, it was probably the best whiteout performance the crowd has had. 5 pre-snap penalties, like 2 on that first drive.
Oh, that was nuts.
It was great. It was great.
I think it's good to show the recruits that we had on there that like the environment and like really being the crap out of somebody is always good. It's always better than like losing a heartbreaker to Ohio State or something like that.
It is definitely a huge recruiting factor. I mean, there's no way like you cannot walk in that stadium. As soon as I walk through like the tunnel to get to my seats, like as soon as you just step out there and see that stadium, it's always special. The fact that the place was pretty much filled an hour before, student section was filled over an hour before the game. I thought the showing from the crowd was really good for a game that lost a lot of luster and a lot of excitement going into it with the beat down at Michigan.
That's one issue the only issue I'd probably have with the whiteout was, and when I were standing there, they need to do a way better job with security in the student section, with getting the students in the student section. We felt like that there was like 10 rows of students behind us that couldn't get in because it was just filled up already.
Kids were sitting on the ground and they just didn't even try the rest of the game to go in.
God, I know we snuck in not that long ago.
I know everyone's
thousands of students in there that aren't students.
Oh yeah, for sure. But that's the issue. Like, you're
never going to stop it. It's just so easy.
No, even my dad said he felt bad for the students that couldn't get in, that they paid for these tickets and couldn't get in. But
at the same time, Kyle, that's what we said to him. We felt bad that these are kids that actually bought student tickets, but get there early and you'll actually get in. So,
one area they definitely need to improve though is the beer distribution. Oh my God, like. Holy crap. Trent, you made the point earlier in the game where it's like, oh, the line kind of hides the concession line and you can sneak in and no one knows it there. But then by the second half, it literally just takes up the whole concourse. Like I felt so bad for the guy that was doing the beer stand right behind our section because he's literally got like one little stand where he's checking IDs, getting the beer, checking everybody out. And the line is just like half a mile long.
Yeah. And see, that's what I've heard other people mention they've had a good experience with it. And that wasn't their experience. What I mentioned the first game we did it, but like this weekend, it's the same thing I seen one person working each stand, and maybe it's just on like our concourse because we're on the west side and it's not as spacious of a concourse as like the end zones are.
The other thing I couldn't figure out though is so like why not take those stands and like put them over in the corners where there's tons of space. Like you don't necessarily need 2 merchandise stands there. Like who's really going to buy merchandise at that point?
Yeah.
Like just
yeah. So on the West Concourse, though, like there was 2 beer stands on like complete opposite sides, but the lines sort of got so long that they sort of started to like cross each other's paths in different directions. But the concession stand was on the other side of it. So like people just assumed there was a line like for the concession stand. There was no line. There was like 3 people in line. I was like, oh, this is great.
You know, it was one of the longest lines on the west stands there, the little concourse between the west stands and the student section. Longest line, pizza cones. Everyone loves those pizza cones right there. I think my dad ate 3 of them like during the game.
Take my chicken basket any day, even though it's like I got to take out a small loan now.
Kurt Sherman, he likes close to the bathroom, close to get his sweetest fish. Go get a pizza cone. That's why he likes standing there.
Good for Kurt. So, anybody have anything else that we want to touch on? I got one other note, but we can talk about it with Ohio State because it's relevant to that too. So,
what did you think of the light show?
Better if the lights were actually out.
But. I was going to say that I think so. You see all these new, not even new stadiums, but these stadiums are updating their lights where their stadium lights are a light. Exactly. Their stadium lights are a light show in themselves, different colors. Their stadium lights can be strobe lights. I think we just have still those old school fashion lights where we can't really dim them. I don't think they can turn them completely off for like safety reasons. They'd have to dim them because Beaver Stadium's old. It doesn't have all the necessary
Bells and
lighting
whistles.
for like fire standards and all that stuff. So I think it would have been a lot cooler if the lights were out, like Matt said. I mean, they sort of blended in with the stadium lights. But overall, I mean, it was a phenomenal environment. And that's I mean, Matt, you can say what you want, but if that's a noon game, that Minnesota environment, it's just another football game. Like the night environment means so much.
Well, we'll put that to the test this week.
Matt, do you ever stat what's our record now?
It should be. It should be. The Ohio State game should be a much better environment than the whiteout this weekend. It better be.
What stat do you need, Coco?
Do you have our record in whiteout games right now?
What would it be? 8
we can only
6?
be a couple. Yeah,
I think it's. I think
2 games above 500.
I knew easier. We were just over 500, or like we're one more above 500. I wasn't sure.
I think we were
1.
Seven,
I think
7 and
now.
6. Yeah.
So 8 and 6. All right.
Yeah, I mean, you got to consider you're usually playing one of the best teams in the country there. So
yeah. I mean, realistically, we're getting in Ohio State, but if Ohio State's the whiteout this week, that's probably a loss versus the win versus Minnesota.
I think we just need to make every game a whiteout so Sean Clifford plays well, because that boy can ball out when the spotlights are on him. But all right, speaking of good teams, let's do it. Ohio State. God, I hate Ohio State. 7-0. Ryan Day's 3-0 against Penn State. They're AP number 2, FPI number 1. They're good at football. I mean, pretty much they're 15th in passing yards per game and 21st in rushing yards per game. But then pretty much every other major category on both offense and defense are in the top 10. So it's just like, actually, it's pretty easy to scout this one. It didn't take that long because it's just like every single area is good.
Yeah,
you're looking at you're looking at
the top of everything. You don't have to scroll down to the bottom of the list for Ohio State's positions.
Going through the depth chart, and it's like, oh, Trayvon Henderson, he's a dude. Mayan Williams, he's a dude. Mecca Mbuka, dude. Marvin Harrison Jr., dude. It's just like all of them. Like, holy crap,
they're good.
I was going down the roster, and other than maybe our secondary, is there a position that we have that's better than Ohio State? I think our secondary is better by like certain metrics, and like probably looking at like maybe NFL talent that's going to be coming up this year. But
you're talking position groups, not.
I'm saying position group. I'm talking like overall position group. I thought maybe tight end is like comparable, but
yeah, maybe tight end, but like
secondary on the blocking side though.
Yeah.
Quarterback.
To tell you, backup quarterback maybe. But to tell you how stacked they are, I'm looking at their defensive roster and like trying to pull out like who their best performers have been, and I'm getting all the way down, and I'm like, oh my god, I forgot about Zach Harrison. That's probably like a first round pick, and he's not even anywhere near the top of any of their major statistical categories. It's freaking crazy. But yeah, I don't know where you guys want to take this. Like,
yeah,
I don't. It's easier to for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than to find a weakness with Ohio State this year.
I mean, I think this week the linebackers are one of the biggest concerns going into this game. I mean, Matt talked about Ohio State being multidimensional, and I feel like this is where our linebackers really need to step up and be in their positions and fill the right gaps when needed, but be able to step back in coverage when needed and play well. Like this is going to be the real test, and it's not the Minnesota level talent that we just seen this week where it's like, oh, our linebacker play looked pretty decent again. Ohio State's a much different animal. So if those guys don't show up to play, I don't think we have a shot.
See, to jump right off of that, stand on the defense, I think the D-line really needs to get after him too. Hit some stunts, whatever they got to do to get through, but put some pressure on the quarterback.
It's one thing to pin your ears back and stop the run or know that you just have to stop the pass, but
and that's exactly what I was saying
with that, Winnie, we can't. So we did it this week against Minnesota a couple times. We're like, we brought the halves, but everyone's coming from the perimeter and we just lost the pocket. So then there's no one there. And you can't do that against like a team like Ohio State, especially with a mobile quarterback. you can't lose the pocket like that. So as much as you got to get creative with your defensive stunts,
You
you can't just
Yeah.
you can't just exactly you can't just lose your spot because I mean he'll run all over us.
He'll run, but like he can run, but he hasn't done it this
No,
year.
I mean
Like
he hasn't needed to.
He hasn't needed
exactly. But he can run, and the thing is, if we don't contain like that, and we just over pursue our pass rush, really is what it was. Then I mean, you just leave no one there but a hole.
Do you bring pressure early and then just spy him though? Or
spy him with Abdul?
That's what I was thinking. I mean, Abdul's got some speed where he can probably hunt him down if.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a game where you probably can't. You probably need to switch up your defense, right? Because I mean, they are not a one-dimensional team. So this is more of a chess match where it's like you just can't come out and over talent them. You gotta sort of play that game where you're mixing up your play calls so that you keep them on edge a little bit, that they don't know what's coming.
We're so good at that on both sides of the ball, so it should be fun to see.
Under Franklin, is this the most talented Ohio State team he's gone up against, you think, that you guys remember? Like looking back, like obviously like some of these years, I think it is. I mean, with pure NFL talent that they're gonna have.
2020 was probably pretty up there too, right? But yeah, this is probably.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say. I mean, because they've been very good in a lot of years. I think it's. I mean, we're not diehard Ohio State fans to really dig in the. I'd have to really.
When he looks like he is.
There's a T on here. We're good.
The only reason why I asked that question
about the Titans.
The only reason why I asked that question was for how good Ohio State's been. Probably like the good part of a decade now. Since Franklin started coaching here, we've the average margin of victory between all these games, it's 9 points. For how good they are and how talented NFL talent, all that stuff. Same span again between Ohio State and Michigan, it's 18 points. Yeah. So I mean,
that's the only thing that gives me hope. But I feel like it's setting up to be one of those where like we struggled against Michigan, then we come out and blow the doors off of Minnesota. Ohio State, wins convincingly, but there were some flaws a little bit, and then it's just going to be.
Yeah, but I don't think it has that like I know you're saying a little bit of hope, but like this is a very different narrative than the Michigan game was. The Michigan game was most people and nationally people thought it was going to be a great game. Penn State, a lot of Penn State fans thought we could win this. I feel like the narrative for this game is like Penn State fans are like, maybe we play them close, but deep down most Penn State fans don't think we can win this game. And nationally, we're getting no respect in this game, and probably rightfully so. But like Kyle mentioned, that spreads around 16. 16 is a lot of points for a team like Penn State at Beaver Stadium. That's a lot of points. So nationally, we're not getting any recognition. Probably shouldn't be. And then with the fans, most fans don't think we have a shot. And that's why I think this is the game where we do have a shot. When everyone just turns their backs, it's when something surprising happens.
Totally agree.
Let's hope. I mean, I
was breaking it down to percentages, right? Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish. I'm just trying to help you with your voice. You're a little.
Yeah, but I'm a trooper. I was trying to break this down to percent. I think there's pretty much a 0% chance.
We did a little voice back right there.
There's a lot of them. I think there's a 0% chance that we blow Ohio State out, like 0%. So I think
at first I thought you said that they blow us out. I'm like,
no. 0% chance we blow them out. So I think that leaves three categories. What percent chance would you assign to them blowing us out, them beating us, but us hanging with them, and then us pulling out a victory?
Probably and 40, 30, 30, maybe.
Yeah, and that's right around. I was giving us less than 30. I was probably in that 40% range we get blown out. I think there's a smaller range where we hang tight and lose. Like I was going like probably like 40, probably a very similar range. Like I was closer to half 40, and half 20. Between those.
All right. What's not considered getting blown out? Like what's your point spread for like not being blown out?
I think if two scores like 14, I think less than 14, we can't say 14 or less, two scores is not getting blown out. I think that 16-point spread is right around where you edge of being a blowout.
Yeah. So I was thinking about it today too. I think for us to win, we're probably going to have to play our best game probably since we beat them in 2016. And Ohio State's probably going to have to play their worst game since, I mean, can you say Michigan last year? Like that, there were a lot of factors around that. But it's going to have to be, it's going to be one for the ages.
If we play our best game and Ohio State plays average, I think we could beat them.
Yeah.
But if we play average, if we play on the same level, if they play average and we play average, they beat us. If they play well and we play average, they smoke us. But it's just a matter of is Ohio State going to come in? If Ohio State comes in there and plays their best football, no matter what we do, we have no shot. Like that. That's just a matter of being, they're a lot more talented than us. That's where I think that Penn State environment hopefully comes through and keeps this game a lot closer. It should be one of those games where we're standing every single, like as long as it stays close, that crowd will be on its feet. I'll try to yell as much as I can. Hopefully my voice recovers by then.
It's hard for me because
stop talking this week. It might be hard for you.
That's what I'm hoping. If we can have, I think 10 points or less of a spread going into the fourth quarter, I'm not saying we're gonna win, but like I'll give us like just a chance that like the crowd will swing it one way or the other. And like 10 points.
It's gonna be hard if we're standing all that time because last week I had to hold Alex up so she could actually see what was going on. So it was hard for me to keep track of what was going on defense. So, but that actually
there better be a lot of standing this week. This is one of those games where if someone behind me asks to sit down, it's like no, like this. It's Ohio State. I'm not
stand for every game.
Well, you're short anyway, so I don't think anyone's gonna have that problem. So
Coco and I stand every game.
But so that was actually my first key that like we can't have a slow start. Like we can't do what we did. We can't.
I thought your key was standing the whole time.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, honestly, the keys could be pray, like just hope for the best. But like we can't do what we did against Minnesota, where we kind of just come out and lollygag. Because if you get down 2 scores, it's over. Like you can't afford to have that happen.
My hope is that was just a hangover from that Michigan game where we couldn't move the ball at all. I'm hoping that just bled into this week a little bit. Now we're back to clicking.
Well, but my fear is that it's just we're gonna try to just do what we do. We're gonna play our game and see if we can actually do something with it. And of course, it's not gonna happen because it's Ohio State.
So I don't know. I mean, there was a couple small changes that I noticed during the game. I mean, like I saw Nick Singleton wasn't back there returning kicks. I mean, we didn't see a lot of Brent Strange, which I mean, I don't know exactly why, but I think there were some small changes that happened. I mean, that I think was a good sign for Minnesota, which makes me optimistic that we're going to go in with the same approach, the way we finished this game into Ohio State.
Well, I think the reason that Singleton wasn't back on kicks is because we had 2 scholarship running backs, but so yeah, you can't afford to have him go down.
I mean, I'll say I said the same thing for the Michigan game, but I think that what we need to do is I trust our secondary. I mean, again, like what I said earlier, our position group, like our secondary, can match up with the wide receivers. I mean, their wide receivers, I think, are still better than us, but at least we're comparable. So I think if we play man and try and stop Travion in that good running game and see if we can do it.
You have to stop the explosive plays. Like that's what they want to do. Like obviously they have the talent to do it. You've got to just make them earn every single yard that they get. Like against Iowa. Now, granted, Iowa probably played one of the worst offensive games in Big Ten history, but Ohio State had 5 scoring drives that were under 25 yards because they just kept turning the ball over, short fields. Like you can't do that. And if they're going to drive down the field, it's fine. Like, because even the Michigan game, those big long runs are what broke our back. And then when they get into the red zone, you got to try to do something. They've only kicked 5 field goals this year. They've 36 for 36 in the red zone, and 5 of them are field goals. So you just got to try to force them off of that a little bit. Not going to be easy, but
I will be bringing up an extra pair of clothing this weekend in case that offset chance that we do win. We'll be honoring the duck pond bet that if we do win, and then that following game we'll be pouring duck water on all of you if we do win in a celebratory fashion. But again, extra pair of clothes. I'll bring a towel up.
I'll bring the GoPro.
In the GoPro.
I'll link the footage. We could stream it live.
You want to know what the best part's going to be, Matt? Well, when we upset Ohio State and Coco's over to the duck pond, but it's just dry because that happens a lot. It dries up a lot.
It's just like ice or something.
We'll fill it
No,
up.
it'll just be dirt.
Well, you're still going in one way or another.
Well, if that happens, you might have to be like the guy who took the field then and run across the field against.
Yeah,
against
Coco,
Maryland.
you were supposed to be the one that did that.
Yeah,
We had the streak.
For the people that don't know that there was a streaker during the game this weekend. Nice change of pace. I don't know.
I don't know if you guys noticed who tackled him. I think I told Trent this, but it was one of the photographers. I think I don't even think it was security who initially got him. There was a photographer on the sideline.
Photographer. He had the photographer vest.
Okay. Coco could have evaded that tackle, but before we get off Ohio State,
I had something too.
Yeah, so how do you think from an offensive perspective, how do we attack this defense? What do we got to do?
We need to throw the ball beyond the line of scrimmage and or beyond the line to gain, I should say. Like we need to throw it past the first down markers. Like we can't just sit there and throw all these little dink and dunk passes and expect us to move the ball, because oftentimes than not, Minnesota did too. They just let us catch it because they're there waiting for us. So it's like, sure, it's a completion, but it goes for 2 yards. Or even better, on third down, we have to stop throwing the ball short of the line to gain on third down, because what happens is they let us catch it. Like Clifford sees a guy open and throws it to him, but the reason it's open is because he needs 4 more yards after the catch. So they just let him catch it and tackle him. Like we need to stop doing those types of things. Throw the ball downfield, be aggressive. This is a game where Michigan, I would say, like we're going in there where we feel like we're on equal footing and try to play our game. This is a game where we have nothing to lose. No one expects us to come out of here with a victory. Go out there, be aggressive, take some deep shots. If the run game's not working, ditch it. Just throw the ball. Try to make big plays happen.
Yeah. Well, to your point, like the reason why the secondaries can just sit at the marker and let us catch is because we haven't had a deep passing threat. Like I think that's what the tight ends showed that they can be last week, and then that changes everything, because then once you have to respect a deep passing threat, what clears up for the wide receivers, it creates space for the running game, and maybe there's something there. I was trying to look, like I think Ohio, like you said, Coco, I think Ohio State secondary is, by their standards, not the best. Like by their standards,
their secondary is like decent.
It's a secondary most teams would kill for.
Exactly. Yeah. They're a decent. Like again, ours is better, but they're still like a decent secondary.
To say it's not good by their standards is still a compliment. But like I was looking at that their first game, they did a pretty good job like keeping Michael Mayer for Notre Dame in check. And he's probably one of the best tight ends in the country, if not the best. And after that, like it always seems like there's one matchup with a tight end where the secondary struggles a little bit, like someone there. It's a small sample size, but I think this will be a test because we have multiple good tight ends. How can that matchup work in our favor?
Well, it's all how they use them, though, right? I mean, Ohio State definitely watched the same game that we just watched, so they're keen on that. They're going to say, okay, Penn State just used their tight ends.
And I'm just going to say, Matt said it about the Michigan game where Michigan came out in unbalanced formations, ran counters, different crap like that. Can we? I mean, we showed a little bit in this game, but can we do something different? Can we go on bounce? Can we do something that's make this offense that give Ohio State fits, just something different?
It's all about breaking your tendencies at this point in the season. Like that's what those first couple games are for.
What are tendencies? 3 and out?
Run up the middle. Yeah, run up the middle.
Yeah,
run up the middle.
The delayed handoffs and everything. I think that's where I was going to say. I mean, Trent said give up on the running game. I think we'll need the running game to a degree. Obviously, if it's not working,
well, yeah, we need it. But what I'm saying is, it doesn't do it. It doesn't do us any good if it's not working. Don't keep trying, because then we find ourselves in 3rd and 8 situations, and our third down efficiency is terrible. So I'm not saying, like, of course we want to run the ball, but just it's not the type of game where we have to try and force it if it's not there.
Yeah, at
So
some
to
point
me,
the square peg's not going in the round hole. At some
I
point,
wouldn't
just
force
scrap it.
I wouldn't force the run that we've been trying to do. I would try to work it outside, do a pitch, do something different to kind of Kyle's point. Maybe even a running back screen. I know we saw the wheel route by Singleton a couple weeks ago. It's just like something different, I think, is what the creativity aspect, I think, is what's going to get us the win. If we come out with the same approach that we did against Michigan, I think we're going to lose badly.
And again, I've been saying it all year. I don't know what the issue is with using the pass to set up the run. Like it can work both ways. Like you don't have to use the run to set up the pass. It can go both ways. And I think that's what happened last week after we tried to establish a run and it didn't work. But
I think it's how they use the pass then too, right? Like the little wide receiver screen out to the flat isn't going to do it for you. You got to go downfield a little bit, work the middle of the field.
Yeah, exactly. But one note from the Minnesota game that I said I wanted to translate over: offensive line health is going to be big this week. So it kind of hard to notice it in the game. But Tangwall was out. Landon Tangwall didn't play again. He didn't play against Michigan. Norzad did play better. He didn't play well against Michigan. Had a much better game last week. But Wormley came out at one point because of an injury, so they put Effner in at right guard. But then Wallace got hurt and didn't come back into the game, so they had to move Effner over to tackle, and then they had to put an injured Wormley back at guard. So, like going up against Ohio State front seven, that's not
it's definitely concerning, especially considering our offensive line is a concern almost every game. Like I feel like it almost goes without saying that our offensive line needs to play well for us to do anything offensively, and when they're not expected to be fully healthy, that's a concern. Considering when we are fully healthy, it's still not the best.
I know we said this like time and time again, but how we said about Ohio State secondary being like it's not the best part of their team, but they're still like still solid. But like for our offensive line compared to years past, like it's like I still think it's like the best O line we've had under Franklin, or at least one of them. But it's still like an okay O line. It's not like there's definitely better O lines out there, but they're still like okay for our standards, which is we can get that into a different conversation, but.
Yeah,
that's an off-season conversation. Does anyone have any other comments on Ohio State? Because
I have one. I have one quick. You can go first.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say was, to win this game, I think we need at least one key turnover, and it has to be like a major turnover, sort of what we've seen in the Michigan game, like that type of crazy play that results in a touchdown defensively. I think we need something like that to just get the crowd so insane. Like there's a big difference with a play like that on the road where it takes the crowd out of it. Yes, but I think it's a much different feeling when you bring your home crowd into it with a play like that. And in order to win this game, I think we need something like that. If we go out there with no turnovers, I don't think we win a game then.
It's actually one of the few statistical categories that we're actually outperforming Ohio State. I think we're like top 10, near the top 10, and Ohio State's tied 24th. So still +5, but it's like one of the few areas where it's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Actually... Like to win this game, I have to envision like a scoop and score, a pick six, something or Ohio State's about to go in and fumbles on the goal line, like something crazy like that, where it's such a major turn of events that the place just gets rocking. And what I mean like the players, the entire environment as a whole gets rocking and like never looks back. I think we need something like that because our offense has not done a good job of creating that spark on its own.
I hate to be Debbie Downer here, but I thought that turnover against Michigan that we have was supposed to be a big spark and took that and did nothing.
I said that, but I feel like it's much that at home is much different than on the road.
I didn't hear you say that. I think one question before we transition to pick your plate is, I know we're going to give score predictions and all that, well, except for Trent, but what score would you guys be okay with in a loss against Ohio State? And again, it all depends on like, certain things need to happen, how we look on offense, all this stuff. Like at the end of the day, like final score that you're okay with in a loss.
I don't think it's a score per se. I think it's more of like the actual performance. Like I said, like I don't really, the loss to Michigan, to me, it upset me more because we just didn't perform well to what I believe what we could do. Not saying we, should have beat them by 20 or we should have lost by 7, but we just didn't play well.
Yeah. I don't know if there's going to be a score because I was actually thinking about this earlier too, Coco. And like if it was if it's a close game, then I know I'm just going to be pissed because it's like, oh, we could have freaking won that game. So like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough because if it's close, you're going to point to it's like, oh, this would have just
Oh,
happened.
this-
Like you're going to start really nitpicking at one or two things that could have changed the game. What I'll say to that, Kyle, is I think it's offensive dependent. I mean, if we go out there and lose by a couple scores, but like our offense performed well and like our defense just couldn't hold up to Ohio State's offense, I think that feels better than if we go out there and if our defense puts up like a solid performance and holds Ohio State to like 21 points and we can't put up 7, like if we put up 7, then I feel like even though we lost by 14 in that case, I feel like it's just going to be so bad because like we just couldn't move the ball. Our offense has to move the ball and put points up on the board, I think, for us to be satisfied with the loss.
Well, I think you'll be safe to know that I don't think we're holding Ohio State to 21 points. It'd be nice if we did, but if we go to 21, I'll be really impressed.
Yeah, we're not going to.
Always such downers. Be optimistic.
All right, well, let's put your money where your mouth is, Winnie. Let's
Winnie, you go first.
Yes.
Well, hang on.
I know. We always jump the gun here. I know.
Don't say we. It's you.
All right. Last week I went 2-4. Winnie also went 2-4. Trent 3-3. Matt 3-3. Overall records. Me, Matt, and Winnie are all 24, 21-2, and Trent's leading the way at 25, 20-2. Overall record between us is 97, 83, and 8.
Matt. You were awfully cocky earlier in this show.
Yeah,
awfully cocky.
I'm just playing with you. First time I've given up the lead all year.
I seriously thought I lost every single one of those. So I'm actually surprised.
See, the issue is I don't write half these bets down during the podcast, so then I need to verify a day later to make sure that they're all right. So I will try and do a better job doing it.
John's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, John has a big lot to do at the end of the year.
No paper trail.
John, leave us a comment. John. All right. So as we mentioned, Ohio State is favored by 15.5 this week. We're getting the score predictions here. Winnie, you're think that we're going to hold Ohio State to under 21 points. So I'll lead you off here. What do you think the score is going to be?
I don't think we're going to hold them under 21. I just said now.
Oh, look at this Debbie Downer.
I'm going to go with 45-35. Penn State, and I think we'll cover.
Well, you think you're going to win?
Oh, yeah. I think we're going to win this, buddy.
Oh, Jesus.
I think we're going to win this.
Well, I don't have to worry about being tied to Winnie next week.
There's a loss, Winnie. All right.
I'm going to cut this if it is. I can't wait.
Be my guest. Listen, my strategy this week is I'm either going to be right or I'm going to be very happy. So,
well, it worked for you last week.
Yeah, it did. I was happy. I didn't even care. So I have Ohio State winning 41-20. This offense hasn't proven that they can be any more dynamic than against any team that's halfway decent. So,
Trent,
boys,
side with me.
Oh boy,
do it.
I knew you are all falling into a trap going into that Michigan game. I knew it. This week against Minnesota, I said I feel a bounce back. I feel like we're going to get back on track. We're beating Ohio State. I'm telling you. I just have that feeling we're beating Ohio State. Maybe I'm falling into the trap that you all fell into for that Michigan game. Maybe I am. But there's just something about this game coming up this week. I love a good underdog. And when no one is giving us a shot, that's when I feel like we're going to come back. College football, that's just the way college football works. That 16-point spread, I love to see it. I love to see the no respect nationally. And with amongst the fan base, no one thinks that we could win this game. Even people chattering in the stadium last week. So you're going to be here for the blowout next week, etc. I love that going into this game. I love the no respect. Give me a victory.
So that's why I had to pick against.
Baby.
Give me the money line.
Who's that? What was the coach of the USA team against Russia? Trent's giving that like massive speech like during.
Well, he's got some work if he wants to catch up to Herb Brooks.
I have the coach's voice right now, so it works.
Coco,
at the beginning of the season, I picked us to beat Ohio State. Boys, I'm going Penn State 38-35. Something weird happens. I don't know what, like Trent said, like underdog. it's that blind optimism. I'm gonna get hurt again. I always do, but I just want to jump in the duck pond at this point. Jump in the duck pond. We win 38-35. I think it's gonna be similar to 16 where we have a turnover. It's gonna be something weird happens. I think it's just that weird Happy Valley magic that happens from time to time. So Penn State 38-35.
Hopefully you lose that hat when you jump in the duck pond.
Yeah. So that the over under for that game is 60.5. And I forget all of your points right now. So
I'm over.
Everyone do
Over.
math.
Over.
Everyone, Trent, your over is, well, we don't have a score for Trent. So
What was the over under?
60.5. Matt's over when he's over.
For us to win the game, I think under.
All right. So now we're off this game, and maybe we'll be back here in a week and we're gonna be like, oh, we fell into the trap again, guys. But now we're going to Kentucky at Tennessee. Tennessee's favored by 12.5 points. So Trent, what do you got for that one?
I think I like Kentucky to cover here.
Anything else, or just that's all you got?
Well, I don't know. How are we doing on time, Matt?
We need to wrap it up a little bit soon.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. All right,
I kept it short.
All right, that's good. I like the lack of preparations goes referred right back to the time. Like, oh, all right. That's Matt, what do you got?
I had Tennessee. I've been doubting Tennessee all year long. It's time to stop doubting them. So
Yeah,
I mean, I still like them to win. I just like Kentucky to cover.
But their offense is too dynamic. Will Levis can't keep up. There's a reason that he's not our starting quarterback right now, not Big Ten Player of the Week. So
would you take Will Levis right now? I haven't seen anything great from Will Levis this year. Like,
no, I don't think so. I mean, he's a running quarterback. He's got the measurables, but he hasn't done it yet. But we don't need to talk about that now. We can talk about that later.
Winnie.
Tennessee.
I
like them.
All right.
Are you from Tennessee, Winnie?
He just wants to sing Dixieland Delight.
All right, we got another one here. Michigan State going up to Michigan. Michigan's favored by 21.5 right now. I think it's going to be a blowout by Michigan. It's another, they're rolling right now. And again, sometimes these rivalry games, you don't know what's going to happen, but we got steamrolled by Michigan, and I think that Michigan State, they are just in a world of hurting right now. I think Michigan's going to blow them out. So
not only is Michigan playing really well, it's a revenge game for Michigan after what happened last year. So
even worse.
Yeah, give me the fighting khakis.
Mooney.
I got Michigan too.
Trent?
Yeah, I actually I think this game's going to be one of those ones where it's like Michigan State's hanging with them and everyone's like, oh my gosh, is Michigan State going to pull it off? And then Michigan's going to backdoor cover. I'm with Matt on this. I would actually like Michigan State here if it wasn't a revenge game.
Get that.
To play that role back-to-back years is tough.
Now
you think it hurts that it's at Michigan too?
Oh yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I think Michigan State maybe a little bit more if they were at Michigan State.
Right. Now this is the ugly game of the day. We got Northwestern at Iowa. That over under 36.5. And sometimes again, we talked about this last week where sometimes these ugly games that they're just so ugly, they're actually fun. So I don't know, two just bad offenses, punching it out. What you got there, Matt?
That's probably what people say about our podcast too. It's so ugly that it's actually fun to watch. But
it has character.
It's like our content or our faces.
No, it's like we always say it. We always say it about our RV every tailgate. There's always these 6-figure RVs at different tailgates, and some are in 7 figures.
I didn't realize Kyle became partial.
That's what I was gonna say. RV. I didn't see your name on the down payment anywhere.
Well,
I saw him write it. I saw him write it on the wall in the bathroom when no one was.
I don't even know
because Coco was here.
I don't even know if Matt tailgates with us. I don't even know if Matt tailgates with us anymore. He was there for like a half hour and then left.
That's because it's not my RV, so I can't say that. I can't do that.
Trent's uncle's RV. Do we? It's like that character. It's very. These have $1 million RVs, but we have that character in the RV. Almost said R again, but yeah. This Northwestern Iowa 36.5.
You sound like a pirate. It doesn't sound like our R. It sounds like R.
It's a stutter.
All
right, what do you got in this one?
I don't know. You kind of inspired me with the ugly battle, so I think maybe it'll be a shootout. I'll go for the over.
It's not going to be a shootout.
I don't know, Kyle. I gotta.
I can guarantee.
You never know.
Maybe a shootout relative to the over under.
Oh, like 20, 21, 20, like 21, 20.
Yes, that's a shootout relative to
all defensive scores.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's disgusting, really, to think that an over under is in the 30s like that.
But the fact it's making you think about it is.
I know it's the scary part. Like, I so badly want to say, like, it has to be the over.
There you go.
But I feel like I'm going to be watching this game. It's going to be like 3-2 at halftime. So I'm going to go with the under.
Kyle, what time is that game?
I can check for you. I think it's noontime.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, it's 3:30.
I just like to try to ask.
Is it the Big Ten game?
You like to ask Kyle something he doesn't. He doesn't have ready. He's not going to know.
He doesn't have ready.
Those poor
ESPN2.
Those poor sick kids in the hospital that have to watch this game.
Oh man!
What color helmets is Northwestern wearing? Are they wearing their alternates?
Are you asking me? I have no idea.
Yeah.
What's Brian Ferentz's buyout? I'm gonna go with the under. I think, like, just because that's what I want to see. Like, I want to see an ugly game. Like, that would just make my heart happy because the Iowa jokes are so funny.
Yeah, Iowa has not shown anything that they're going to change up their offensive philosophy the past few weeks. They're not scoring more than 10 points. If they can, like, they scored 10 against Ohio State, and one was a defensive touchdown. So I'm going under for this game. And then
do it too.
quick Coco Sportsbook here. We got Ohio State over under 480 total yards of offense against Penn State. Trent will go first.
Yeah, I like how you jump back to this instead of just throwing us with the other Penn State bets. All right, what did you set it at? 480.
480. I think their season totals around that. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's over 5. I think 515. I think.
Yeah, it's like 516, 517.
I'm going to go over, but one of the things is to win this game. I think we need a big key turnover. So I'm hoping they have a couple drives and that result in a turnover.
Winnie,
what did Michigan have? I mean, Kyle, this doesn't have to be you. I'm trying to look it up. I was curious what Michigan put up on us for yards.
Well, they put over 400. I think they put over 400 rushing yards, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like 5 something. Okay, I think I'll take the under because I think we played horrible against Michigan. I think Ohio State's a better team, but I have faith in the defense that we're going to get some big stops and everything. So I'll take the under.
Matt.
Well, for my score prediction to work out, I think it's going to go over. But
That's true too.
For us to win, I think he has to go under. So, and I think if we win, it's because we don't go 3 and out every single time, and we can actually, like, control the ball for a little bit. So,
I think since I'm having a higher scoring game, I think they're still going to go over the 480, but that means we also need to go well over, I think, over 400 yards, which I'm hoping that we do. But hey, you only need to happen one time. All these simulations, we probably lose 98 of them. We see those 2 to work sometime. So
we'll see. We'll see. Coming up, let's hit last call real quick. I'll kick us off here. So big noon kickoffs coming. They'll be in the stadium to as we get close to this game. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying, I hope they never come back, like all that kind of stuff. I'm excited to see it because we haven't seen it.
Don't tell me that the question I posed about game day being biased without having this Big Ten contract, don't tell me that's not true because it is just blatant at this point. It's like they didn't want to compete with Big Noon Kickoff, fair, but our game is far better.
Where did game day decide to go again?
Jackson State. You're going to see Prime. But anyway, so my question is, how many times does the crowd boo Urban Meyer before the game?
Oh,
I'm booing going into the stadium, calling him out.
You probably don't even know what Urban Meyer looks like, Winnie.
I do.
I sort of
not a pretty man.
I don't know. I feel like Urban Meyer's always spoke very highly of Penn State. I actually don't hate him as much as I probably should, so I won't be booing, but the crowd will definitely boo him for sure every time they show him.
Well, he definitely got one. I'll boo him. I think he hasn't been. I think he's been he's been a drama queen every stop he's been to. So he was the leader of the convicts down in Florida for that national championship team. So
Tim Tebow,
Trent Williams,
you can look past that because he talks nicely about us.
Yeah.
He's like Herb Street.
All I'm saying is watch.
I love Kurt Hershey.
He's come full circle.
Same thing.
You don't see Kurt Hershey canoodling with women down in bars in
he's just
Jacksonville.
He's just better. He's just better at it.
I didn't know you were an investigative journalist, Kyle.
Sorry, Winnie. Well, no one answered. Winnie, what? How many times?
Well, I said I'm booing him. You have one.
I said every time he's shown on TV.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's definitely double digits.
10. Yeah, let's say 10.
All right. Who wants to go next?
I can go here. My question is, if you were the AD at Penn State, who would be one out of conference game that you would schedule every single year?
Got to be easy. It's Pitt.
It's Pitt.
I love the Pitt rivalry. Like, there are fans that don't love it. I love it because you get that rivalry atmosphere. It's a geographically significant game. It's a historically significant game. Plus, it usually works out pretty well for us. I mean, except for, now that the program is sort of back, like, we usually beat them, and then they always seem to find a way to upset someone in the ACC later down the line. So, it is historically worked out for us. So I would say Pitt in a heartbeat.
For it to be Pitt, it would have to be a 2-1. That game does so much more for them than it does for us with a home and home series, and that can't be argued. So there was a big debate on that on Twitter earlier this season, and it's just there's no way we can give them a home and home. The only way they sell out their stadium is when we're in town in West Virginia this year, another big rivalry. So with that being said,
he said every year though, so there is no home and home. It's just every year. So yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like I said, if we go for 2-for-1, then I'm on the Pitt train as well. But without that, honestly, I sort of like what we've been doing, or I shouldn't say been doing, but like more recently, where we had Virginia Tech. Obviously, didn't get to go through that one with COVID. We have West Virginia. We just had Auburn. I like spreading it out amongst the different conferences and throw some big names on there, some other big environments. I'd love to see like an LSU, a Clemson, some of Florida, some of these other environments that are talked about to be some of the best. I think home and homes with those teams. So I like spreading it out.
Mine was it has to be obviously they had the backyard brawl this year between West Virginia and Pitt. I think we have West Virginia next year. It has to be those two schools, like one each year. Like if you do, I know I said every single year, but I think it has to be either one of those two schools. Like Matt said, geographically, rivalry, recruiting rivalry, everything like that. If I had to lean one, I would say Pitt, just because it's in-state rivalry. But I would either be West Virginia or Pitt.
Let's go Lebanon Valley College.
I kind of like the interstate kind of rivalry too. And since you guys talked about Pitt, I always thought playing Temple's kind of fun too, just because I know a lot of people that went there, and it's always the talk of the town. Also,
it's fun. It's fun until they beat us.
Yeah, that's true. But
we had Trent, 10 sacks.
Trent, does it worry you to a degree playing some of the tougher teams down south though? Yeah, I mean, I think it would definitely strengthen the program long term.
If we want to get to that next level, you have to win those games. If we're going to a 12-team playoff, I think it only helps you scheduling those tougher opponents because a loss isn't going to kill you in a 12-team playoff. I was going to say you can
afford it a little bit more now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I guess I'll go next.
Yeah.
So we saw the throwback uniforms this weekend. What did you guys think? Do you like those better, or do you like the ones that we've been rocking since Joe Pa?
I mean, I don't.
You don't really care.
I don't hate the throwback for one game, but I love our uniforms. I think plain Jane it's special just because it's our thing.
That's fair. You guys feel the same way?
I mean, those throwbacks are historically elements that we've had, over the decades. So I would honestly be fine if we brought back the gray face mask with the numbers on the side permanently. I think it's a cool look. It's a clean look. It's still simple. So yeah, I'm fine with them. I wouldn't want to see us do a pink and black or some crazy sort of alternate.
I like the numbers on the side of the helmet a little bit though.
I wouldn't hate that. Just I don't ever want to see names on our jerseys permanently.
No names. Black cleats.
I would say anything if we kept the numbers, I'd be okay with it.
All right.
Trent.
All right. So I love my crazy hypotheticals. So let's go with another one here.
And then
we're gonna all answer hypothetical with like 4 other hypotheticals to make this work.
Yeah, I don't know. What's your hypothetical?
Starting the timer now. Tell me ready.
So
it's my money and I need it now.
We beat Ohio State this week, right?
Oh boy. All right. There's one hypothetical.
That's happening. So that's not a hypothetical. All right, so now Ohio State beats Michigan, and there we are dancing in that 3-way tie to end the season. So I was looking at this Big Ten tiebreak, and the first one for 3 or more ties, pretty much the first couple of them are all just remain tied because it's all within the division. So since none of our losses would be outside of the division, and none of our losses would be to a team other than the 3 involved, it pretty much. My understanding of this, and I feel like you need a law degree to understand some of these tiebreakers, but pretty much now it comes down to the ranking in the college football playoff. So if we were to beat Ohio State and Ohio State knocks off Michigan and we have that 3-way tie, the question becomes, would we be higher ranked than either of those 2 teams to make the college football playoff or to make the Big Ten championship? I mean,
well, you're forgetting a big step in that hypothetical. We have to win the rest of our games. So
that's assumed.
So
yeah.
So no,
recency bias comes into place, right? Because I do feel like even though Michigan crushed us, I feel like that loss at the end of the season, I feel like recency bias plays a big role there. You got to remember, if we were to beat Ohio State, that's a huge jump there. And there's one other caveat to that as well. If there's 2 teams that are separated by like less than 1 in the college football vote, so just say like we're 3 or Ohio State's 3 and we're 4, then it goes to the head-to-head between those 2 teams. So if Ohio State's 3 and we're 6, then Ohio State just goes.
So it has to be one.
If we're separated by one ranking, then it goes to the head-to-head between those 2 teams. It's craziness. I love looking at this Big Ten tiebreaker. It's awesome.
This is a lot of talk to lose by 35 this week.
Yeah. Nope. Well, just as a side note, way to go, Big Ten, to not get rid of the division format until USC and UCLA. Like, could get rid of all this stupid crap next year, but nope, let's just run it back. But I think no, because I would imagine we would still be behind Ohio State and Michigan if we won. Definitely Michigan, but I would assume Ohio State too, because Ohio State's still good and all that stuff. So unless we are like blowing teams out in November, I don't think so. Because I would think we would drop, and Michigan would drop behind us with a loss because it'd be pretty close. But Ohio State, with the recency bias, would still be ahead.
So here's the issue: if we win this week, some miracle of God, we win this week, do we jump Ohio State this week?
No, God no.
And if we don't jump Ohio State and they win out, they're going to stay in front of us. That's how it works with the AP Bowl.
So the way I see it is, here's what I was thinking. The way I see it is, obviously, I think because of recency bias, although Michigan destroyed us, it's like that loss to end the season right there at the end. We'll drop them out of the top 4, and maybe we slide into the top 4, maybe we don't. But yeah, I think Ohio State will still be in the top 4, and I do think there'll be more than that, like 1 game separation. Because that's at the end of the day, even if Ohio State's ranked above us, as long as we're 1 game behind them, 1 team behind them, then it would go to head-to-head between us, which we would have.
And someone's going to pay off the selection committee, like, hey, we can't have Penn State, Ohio State within 1 rank of each other. So something like that will happen.
Different direction. Is there a chance that Michigan can lose a second game on their schedule? Like, do you think Illinois has the opportunity to, or do you think even Michigan State could surprise us?
That's what I was going to say. Plot twist. Illinois is going to be either Michigan in November or Ohio State in December. We're going to the college football playoff.
Yeah. So that was my hypothetical. It's fun to dream. And it's fun to interpret those Big Ten tiebreakers.
Can we say one thing?
One year we thought we were going and we just read the tiebreakers wrong. It was like trending on Twitter from all these Penn State fans. It was like, no, we just don't know how to read the rules.
Can we just say one thing that it's just weird to say, but the Big Ten West right now goes through Champaign, Illinois. Like, that's just weird to say that no one in the universe thought that Illinois was going to make the Big Ten championship this year, and now they're in the driver's seat with Purdue losing this week.
I hope the winner of the West is 500 or worse.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think it's possible for Illinois to go 500. But yeah, so appreciate the hypothetical. Not going to happen. But we'll see what happens this week. Just follow us on Tailgate Talk.
Reminds me of 2016 a little bit when Matt said we had no chance. If I remember
correctly.
Listen, is that the game you didn't go to? Yeah, that's right. We had no chance in that one either.
I'm surprised we didn't bring it up earlier. This is the last time like a big Ohio State home game, and
let's hope. What are you talking about? The last time a big Ohio State home game? What happened? What about 2018?
Well, you went to that one, and we lost.
Exactly. Yeah, so
Matt's not going.
Yeah, but
if anyone wants to buy my tickets, sure. Someone wants to pay me 500.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
You're not getting that. Good luck.
That's because no one wants to sit by Trent Williams. So
Winnie can't get 150 for his.
For my spares, yeah.
I just appreciate Winnie. Always the guy that didn't go to any games. Now he's got double tickets.
Oh, can we just time out? What happened to that bet that Matt said over under Winnie at what was it? 2 games?
That's true. Winnie's way over that. I think the fact that Winnie only went to one less game than Matt this year is
What we got? 3 home games left. Kyle Schumann hasn't missed.
Yeah,
Matt's just not on his best.
And also, I'm guaranteed going to the bowl game. That's already set.
I wouldn't throw that out there, Kyle.
It's guaranteed. Like I'm going to the bowl game.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
So I'll have at least a 2 game.
Well, here's
Rutgers and I'll be surprised.
I hope it's the Pinstripe Bowl.
Here's what I'll say. It's true Coke was in the lead, but kind of like his ears under that hat, November is where he starts to fold. So we'll see what happens.
Wow, how long you been holding that one?
But a few seconds. It took me a while to come up with it. But all right, so let's wrap this up. We're over an hour again. Follow us on Tailgate Talk. Win or lose, Kyle's going in that duck pond. So just keep on following us and we'll get you the live feed. Until next time, we are Tailgate Talk.